is the rainbow heart all finished, and we are going to string it together today. Hopefully you've seen the previous video where I melted the beads to make this rainbow heart. In this particular Suncatcher, I'm using a pearl thread rather than a wire. This is going to be indoors, and I just felt it was going to be nicer to work with. First of all, you've got to make sure that your needle you're using will pass through the hole of the bead, which this one does. Now I'm going to thread my needle. And pull it through so that you've got two lengths that are exactly the same. Then pass your needle through the bead. Hold on to one edge, and then you will have the heart suspended on just one of the threads. Then what you're going to do is to thread the other side of the thread through the eye of the needle, going exactly the same way as the first one. So you see I get it wrong here first and it's a bit frayed, so I need to trim it. And passing the thread through the same way as the other thread. So the heart is now suspended on that thread. Here's my array of beads here, carefully laid out in colours, not. So I start just by threading them in rainbow order, the same order that I used in the melted beads: red, orange, yellow, green. And I'm using different sizes here, just makes it a little bit more interesting. There goes the blue one, purple, and then another set, starting with red. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Now the last bead you do slightly differently, so find a largish bead, and to make sure that all the beads don't slip off the threading that you've done, take the threads out of the needle, separate them, then pass the ends of the thread through the bead in different directions, so that one's going through from the right and one's going through from the left, as you see me doing here. And then just pull it down to the, oops, get it through, and then pull it down through to the obviously it takes a little bit of dexterity to do this. That pearl thread is quite slippery. That's my excuse anyway. Then you pull the bead down to the other beads that are already threaded. So that will now hold those in place. Now to make a loop at the top, which will be the hanging loop, just take the pieces of thread over your finger and make a knot. You can make it any size you like. There's the loop. And as you can see now, the beads, they might slide down, but they won't come off because that pink bead is holding them in place there. Next, you're going to cut another piece of thread around about 60 centimeters long. The top piece was around about 60 centimeters as long as well. using the same thread, that nice pearl thread. Thread it through the needle. Then, as before, pass it through the whole of the bead. Hold on to one end and pull it through so that there's just one single thread going through the bead hole. Then bring the thread up and pass it through the eye of the needle the same direction as the first thread. And this one's frayed as well, so I need to trim it. Then doing as before, making a tail of beads, starting with red, going through the same sequence, orange, yellow, again using different sizes of beads, just for interest. So through that rainbow red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, and pink. Making sure the beads are just threaded through the two threads. And then doing another set of those colours. So next I'm going to add a drop bead, and I found out or discovered that the needle won't go through this drop bead, but luckily the thread passes through fine. So threading the thread, the pearl thread, through the drop bead. And just like you did with the pink bead at the top, you pass the thread through one way, through left to right, and then through the other way, right to left. So both threads are going through the bead but in different directions. And again, it's a little tricky to do with this slippery thread. But I do eventually manage to get it. So pull that tight so that the drop bead is hiding or is close up to the tail. And then what you need to do, as the thread wouldn't go through the drop bead, you rethread the needle with both threads going through in the same direction. Make sure that they are nicely organized, and then pass the needle back up through the tail. Having lots of beads on the table makes it much more exciting with beads flying everywhere. Might take a few passes to get through to the end of the tail. Just pull it taut. So it's not, you don't want it so tight that it's rigid, but you don't want too much of that thread showing. Then all you need to do is secure that thread with a knot. Eventually. So I decided it would be a good idea to thread the loop through and then catch the tail to make the knot. This isn't going to be something that will be handled a lot, but this is secure enough. So you can see the tail's not too rigid. You want it to dangle. And then just trim the tails. Not too close to the knot, you don't want the knot to come undone. And there you have it. The top thread with loop, hanging loop, and a little rainbow tail. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you would like to see more, please consider liking and subscribing. Every little bit helps.